Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashata Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashata Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashata Śrīmad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashatarashata Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityal Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Śrīla Gokṣoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityal Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nugogoriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Chai Śrīla Haridas Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Prem se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gora Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tar Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Prabrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityang Dvaipayano Virahaka Tarajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedustang Sarvabhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Shrinvatang Svakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Ridantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptashtakamaditaranga Madhe Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Indira Mataji and Mohar. Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranams to both of you. Wow, there's only 2 people today. I guess it's because I started so late and so people just expected I wasn't going to read today. Anyways, today will be a very short reading because I'm so late. The internet wasn't working, but I just used a different connection and now it is working. Hopefully this connection is good. I don't know. But I'll stop early today. Today we're just reading so that we're not letting a day go by without reading, but won't be a normal reading. So previously we read about the Iron Age, how Kali Yuga, I'm not going to read this all because I read it yesterday, but towards the end of Kali Yuga, the bodies of everyone will be reduced in size. All the social classes will be reduced to Shudras. Cows will be like goats. People will be like grass. Plants and herbs will be very tiny. Spiritual hermitages will be like mundane houses, and family ties will be no more than the immediate bonds of marriage. At that time, Lord Vishnu will appear as Kalki in the village of Shambhala to a Brahmin named Vishnu Yasha. Riding on his horse Devadatta with a sword in hand, he will travel all over earth and will kill all the so-called kings. The death of the impostor kings at the end of Kali Yuga will be accompanied by fragrant spiritual breezes coming from the body of Lord Vasudeva that will make the minds of the people transcendently pure. This will mark the beginning of the next Satya Yuga. Inspired by the Lord from within their hearts, the citizens will abundantly repopulate the earth. Devapi, the brother of King Shantanu from the Moon Dynasty, and Maru, the descendant of Ikshvaku from the Sun Dynasty, both possessing great mystic strength and still living in the village of Kalapa, will return and establish the eternal religion again. And this is what we read yesterday, the Song of the Earth. Lamenting for the foolishness of the kings who are bent upon conquering her, Mother Earth had sung a song called the Bhumi Gita. She had sarcastically said, "Great kings who are actually just playthings of death, who cannot even subdue their 6 internal enemies, the 5 senses and the mind, they imagine that they will go on to conquer all of me and all my oceans. Seeing their false hopes, I can simply laugh, for eventually they all must leave this planet, as all the great kings of the past had to. Even after they manage to usurp some part of the earth, which is actually unconquerable and must be given up, their fathers, sons, brothers, friends, and relatives quarrel over it." The 4 yugas. Thereafter, at Parikshit's request, Shukadev Goswami describes the qualities of different yugas. In the Satya Yuga, Dharma used to stand on 4 legs, and the people were self-satisfied, merciful, friendly, peaceful, sober, equipoised, tolerant, and endeavored diligently for spiritual perfection. In the Treta Yuga, each leg of Dharma was reduced by 1/4 by the influence of the 4 pillars of irreligion. That is, what are the 4 pillars of irreligion? It's lying, violence, dissatisfaction, and quarrel. The people were devoted to rituals and austerities, and not very violent or lusty. In Dwapar Yuga, the legs of Dharma were reduced to half, and people were interested in glory, devoted to Vedic study, and enjoying life. In Kali Yuga, only 1/4 of the religious principles remain, which also will decrease until destroyed completely. People are greedy, ill-behaved, merciless, fight without reason, unfortunate, obsessed with material desires, adapt to atheism, and are almost Shudras. Even if one utters the name of Krishna unconsciously, even on one's deathbed, being afraid, one can achieve the supreme destination by the Lord's unconditional grace. But still, even though attaining the supreme destination is so easy in Kali Yuga, the people of Kali will not worship the Supreme Lord. Now we come to 4 types of destruction. That's the chapter that we're reading now. I'll probably only read half of it. Haribo, Raseshwari Mataji, and Madhavi Didi, Kishore Prabhu, and Sudevi Didi. To say Bhagavat is also God is an aparad, but to say Bhagavat is... All right. So I am now moving on. Oh God, where is the PDF? We've been reading from this one, right? Okay. 4 types of destruction. Canto 12, Chapter 4, starting from the beginning. Shri Shuka Uvacha Kalaste Paraman Vadir Dviparardha Vidhir Nripa Katito Yugamanam Cha Shrinu Kalpa Layav Api. Shukadev Goswami said, O king, I have already described to you the measurements of time, beginning from the smallest unit up to the total lifespan of Lord Brahma. I have also discussed the measurement of the yugas. Now hear about maintenance and annihilation. Sarartha-darsini. Sarartha-darsini, commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. In the 4th chapter, Shukadev concludes the sweet topics of Krishna by describing the 4 types of destruction. Chaturyuga sahasrang tu brahmano dinamuchyate sakalpo yatra manavash chaturdasha vishampate. 1,000 cycles of 4 ages constitute a single day of Brahma, known as a kalpa. In that period, O king, there are 14 manus. Tarante pralayastavan brahmiratrir udahrita trayoloka ime tatra kalpante pralayayahi. After 1 day of Brahma, annihilation occurs during his night, which is of the same duration. At that time, all the 3 planetary systems are subject to destruction. There's a footnote here. It says, at the beginning of Brahma's night, the planets, including Swarga, are flooded. Later, all the planets and Brahma enter into Vishnu. Sarartha-darsini. Tavat means 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas. Esha naimitika prokta pralayo yatra vishvasrik shete nantasano vishvam atmasat kritya chatmabhu. This is called the naimitic, or occasional annihilation, during which the original creator, Lord Narayan, lies down upon the bed of Ananta Shesh and absorbs the universe within himself, while Lord Brahma also enters. Sarartha-darsini. The naimitic destruction is the first of the 4 types of destruction. Narayan withdraws the universe into himself and sleeps. Brahma also enters Narayan and sleeps. Taking Brahma's sleep as the cause, as the nimitta, the Lord destroys the 3 worlds. Thus, this destruction is called naimitic. This is a daily destruction. So every time Brahma goes to sleep, the Lord destroys the 3 worlds. This is the naimitic destruction, annihilation. Dvipararade tatikrante brahmana parameshtina tada prakritaya sapta kalpante pralayaya vai. When the 2 halves of the lifetime of Lord Brahma, the most elevated created being, are complete, the 7 basic elements of creation are annihilated. Okay. Sarartha-darsini. The destruction into Prakriti is described in 2 verses. The first half of Brahma's life has passed. When the second half is completed, when Brahma's life has ended, the 7 elements consisting of Mahatattva, Ahankar, and the 5 tanmatras are destroyed. Esha prakritiko rajan pralayo yatra liyate andakoshastu sanghato vighata upasadite. O king, that is called the prakritika destruction, in which the universe made of all the elements merges in prakriti when it is time for that destruction. Sarartha-darsini. It is called the prakritika destruction because all the objects created from prakriti re-enter prakriti. When the time of destruction arrives, the universe made of the combination of elements like Mahatattva is destroyed. One second, I'm just making sure because I'm using not such a stable connection, I don't think. But it looks like everything's good. Okay, cool. Parjanya shatavarshani bhumau rajan varshati tada niranye hyanyonyam bhakshyamana kshudartitaha kshayanyasyanti shanakai kalino padruta prajaha. O king, there will be no rain upon the earth for 100 years. Droughts will lead to famine, and the starving populace will consume one another. The inhabitants of the earth, bewildered by the force of time, will gradually be destroyed. Sarartha-darsini. The way in which that destruction takes place is now described. Samudram daihikam bhomam rasam samvartako ravi rashmibhi pibate ghorai sarvam naiva vimunchati. The sun in its annihilating form will drink up with its terrible rays all the water of the ocean, of the living bodies, and of the earth itself. But the devastating sun will not give back anything. Wow, that is really scary. Its terrible rays will drink all the water of the ocean. Sarartha-darsini. Pibati means it draws up. Pibati means drinks also. Tata samvartako vahni sankarshana mukhotita dahatya nilave ghota shunyam bhu vivaran atha. Next, the great fire of annihilation, rising from the mouth of Lord Sankarshan and increased by the force of the wind, will burn the universe, scorching the lifeless planets. Uparyadha samantachcha shikabhirvahni suryayo dahyamanam vibhatyandam dagdagomaya pindavat. Burned from all sides, from above by the blazing sun and from below by the fire of Lord Sankarshan, the universal sphere will glow like a burning ball of cow dung. That's a really neat example. The universal sphere will glow like a burning ball of cow dung. Tata prachanda pavano varshanam adhikam shatam parasamvartako vati dhumram kham rajasavritam. A great and terrible wind of destruction will begin to blow for more than 100 years, and the sky, covered with dust, will turn gray. Sarartha-darsini. A wind will blow for a little more than 100 years, and then the sky covered with dust will turn gray. Tato mega kulanyanga chitravarnanyanekasha shatam varshani varshanti nadanti rabhasa svanai. After that, O king, groups of multicolored clouds roaring terribly with thunder, will pour down rain for 100 years. Tata ekodakam vishvam brahmanda vivarantaram. At that time, the shell of the universe will fill up with water, forming a single cosmic ocean. Tada bhumir gandagunam grasantyapa udaplave grasta gandhav tu prithivi pralayatvaya kalpate. As the entire universe is flooded, the water will rob the earth of its unique quality of fragrance, and the element earth, deprived of its distinguishing quality, will be dissolved. Sarartha-darsini. Pralayatvaya comes from prakrishto-laya, a long destruction. A state of long destruction is called pralayatva. Apamrasam ato tejas taliyate tanirasa grasate tejasorupam vayustadrahitam tada liyate chanile tejo vayo kam grasate gunan savai vishati kam rajangs tatascha nabasa gunam shabdam grasati bhutadir navastam anuliyate taijashas chendriyanyanga devan vaikariko gunai mahan grasatyahankaram guna sattva dayaschatam grasate vyakritam rajan gunan kalena choditam natasya kalavaya vai parinamadayo guna anadyanantam avyaktam nityam karanam avyayam. The element fire then swallows up the taste from the element fire then swallows up the taste from the element which, deprived of its unique quality, taste, merges into fire, swallows up the form inherent in fire, and then fire, deprived of form, merges into air. The element ether swallows up the quality of air, namely touch, and that air enters into ether. Then, O king, false ego and ignorance swallows up sound, the quality of ether, after which ether also merges into false ego and ignorance. False ego and passion consumes the senses, and false ego and goodness absorbs the devatas. Then the total Mahat-tattva consumes false ego along with its various functions, and that Mahat-tattva is consumed by the three basic modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. My dear King Parikshit, these modes are further swallowed up by Prakriti, impelled by time. That Prakriti is not subject to the 6 kinds of transformation caused by the influence of time. Rather, it has no birth, no death, no existence, no increase, no change, and no decrease. It is the cause of the universe. Sarartha-darsini. The verb grasati should be added to the first line of verse 15. Bhutadhi means ahankara and tamas. Ahankara and rajas swallows up the senses. Mahat-tattva swallows up ahankara along with its transformations of gunas. Ahankara in the mode of tamas, rajas, and sattva. The gunas swallow up Mahat-tattva. Avyakritam means pradhana or prakriti. Prakriti is not subject to the transformation and other factors produced by the limbs of time, by days and nights. Parinam, or development, is the 4th stage, is the 4th vikar among 6 that are not present in Prakriti. The first is birth. But Prakriti has no beginning. Prakriti is anadi. And it has no end. It is anantam. Anadi and anantam. Avyaktam means that it does not show itself as existing for some time. Nityam means that Prakriti is always in one form. It does not increase or grow. It does not decline. Thus, the 6 transformations are absent in Prakriti. There's a footnote here. It says the 6 transformations are Janma, Astitva, Vriddhi, parinam, apakshaya, and mrityu. Na yatra vacho namano na sattvam tamo rajo va maharadayomi na prana buddhindriya devata va na sannivesha kaluloka kalpaha na swapna jagrana chattat shushuptam na kam jalampur anilok nirarka Sangsupta vachchunya parapratarkyam tanmola bhutam paramam amananti. In Pradhan, there is no expression of words, no mind, and no manifestation of the subtle elements beginning from the Mahatattva. Nor are there modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. There is no life, air, or intelligence, nor any senses or devatas. There is no arrangement of planetary systems, nor are there present the different stages of consciousness, sleep, wakefulness, and deep sleep. There is no ether, water, earth, fire, air, fire, or sun. The situation is just like that of complete sleep or of voidness. It is indescribable. Authorities in spiritual science explain, however, that since Pradhan is the original substance, it is the basis of material creation. Sarartha-darsini. 2 verses explain how Prakriti has no transformations like objects we perceive with passion and other qualities. Lokakalpa means that there is no construction of planets. Laya prakritiko hyesha purusha vyaktayor yada shaktaya sampraliyante vivasha kala vidruta. The annihilation is called prakritika when the energies belonging to the Supreme Person and Prakriti disassembled by the force of time and merged together totally. Sarartha-darsini. Energies like Sattva-guna merge into Prakriti. However, the Lord and Prakriti are never affected at any time. Buddhindriyartha-rupena jnanam bhati tarashrayam drishyatva vyatirekabhyam adyantavad avastuyat. Brahman manifests in the forms of intelligence, the senses, and the objects of sense perception, and it is their ultimate basis. Whatever has a beginning and an end is insubstantial because of being an object perceived by limited senses, and because of being non-different from its own cause. Sarartha-darsini. The state of being one with Brahman in Atyantika Pralay by those desiring impersonal liberation is now described. The oneness with Brahman that they desire will be produced when there is realization of the oneness with Brahman which they desire will be produced when there is realization of the insubstantiality of the world of duality, which is an effect of Brahman. Thinking boldly in this way, they say this world is illusory. That is explained in 9 verses. That Brahman, Jnanam, appears in the forms of intelligence, the senses, and the sense objects, since they are transformations of the Shakti of Brahman. What is this Brahman? It is the shelter of intelligence, the senses, and objects of this world, since it is their cause. The neuter gender of ashrayam is poetic license. What is produced in this world as intelligence has a birth and a destruction. Though this is perceived as real, from the spiritual point of view, it is not real, since the world does not last forever. Two other reasons are given for the unreality of the world. It is visible, and it is not different from its cause. Avyaktireka. Because of these two reasons, the world is considered unreal. The methodology is as follows. Because the world is visible, and because it has a beginning and an end, and because it is not different from its cause, it is like a golden earring. From the spiritual point of view, it is insubstantial. Even if one maintains that the world is illusory, following the latter descriptions of things related to Brahman being similarly chit and non-different from Paramatma in verse 29, Chit Sama Atmavat, there should be visible spiritual variety. Even if one maintains that the world is illusory, there should be visible spiritual variety. Otherwise, the reasoning will be erroneous. Shruti says, Tasam Madhye Shakshar Brahma Gopalapuri. Among all these abodes, the residence of Gopala is directly the absolute truth. That's from the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Man niketam tu nirgunam. My abode is beyond the gunas. At Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11:25-25. Nirguno mar apashraya. A worker who has taken shelter of me is understood to be transcendental to the modes of nature. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, same chapter, next verse. By these words of the Lord, it is understood that though the abode and other spiritual objects are visible, they are eternal, since they are beyond the gunas. Dīpaśchakṣuṣcharupam ca jyotisho na pritag bhavet evam dhikani matrascha nasyur anyatamar ritat. A lamp, the eye that views by the light of that lamp, and the visible form that is viewed, all these are non-different from the element light. In the same way, intelligence, the senses, and sense perceptions have no existence separate from the supreme reality, although that absolute truth remains totally distinct from them. Haribol Kishori Mohan Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Sarartha-darsini. An example is given. Just as a lamp, the eye and form are aspects of the light element and are not different from light, which is their cause. So intelligence, the senses, and sense objects are not different from Brahman. Just as a lamp, the eye, and form, the effects, are said to be fire or light, so intelligence, the senses, and sense objects, the effects of Brahman, are said to be Brahman. But if cause and effect are one, then the effect is unreal. Then the cause is unreal. But if cause and effect are one, and the effect is unreal, then the cause is unreal, since the effect is simply a transformation of the cause. Somebody might raise that point. Brahman is completely different from its effects, and even from Prakriti, the cause of the, and even Brahman is even different from Prakriti, the cause of those effects. Buddhir jagaranam swapna sushuptir iti chochate maya matram idam rajan nanatvam pratyagatmani. The three states of intelligence are called waking consciousness, sleep, and deep sleep. But, my dear king, the variegated experiences created for the pure living entity by these different states are nothing more than illusion. Sarartha-darsini. The jiva has various states, waking, dream, and deep sleep, which are the three aspects of intelligence. These states are also false. That is explained in this verse. Waking, sleeping, and deep sleep are called functions of intelligence. The variety created in the jiva by states of consciousness is false, since it is a covering on Brahman. Yata jala dhara vyomni bhavanti na bhavanti cha brahmanidam tata vishvam avayavyud udayapyayat. Just as clouds in the sky come into being and are then destroyed, the material universe with its parts is created and destroyed within Brahman. Sarartha-darsini. Non-difference of cause and effect in Parinamavad was shown. Now, the real existence of the Supreme Lord, the cause of the universe that has beginning and end, is shown according to Arambhavad in 2 verses. Just as clouds are created and destroyed in the sky, the universe is created and destroyed in Brahman. The example of sky is used to show that the Paramatma is not contaminated by the universe, just as the sky is not contaminated by formation of clouds. The universe with its parts such as a pot, with a beginning and an end, is not factual. It's not factual through all time, since it has a beginning and an end. Satyam hyavayava prokta sarva vayai vinam iha vinarthena pratiyeran patasye vangatantava. O King, the cause of the universe is said to be factual, since the cause is perceived to have a separate existence from the universe, just as threads of a cloth are separate from the cloth. Sarartha-darsini. The cause, Brahman, of the parts, the universe, is shown to be factual in this world, O King, since even without the parts, the cause is perceived separately, just as the threads of a cloth are perceived separate from the cloth. This has been stated in the seventh canto. Karya karana vastvaikya darshanam pattatantuvat avastutvad vikalpasya bhavadvaitam taruchyate. Non-difference of conception is seeing the effect and the cause as one, like threads related to a cloth, since all these are unreal, arising from misconception. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 7:15-63. This conception allows one to realize oneness in Brahman. Okay. I think we should end soon. Maybe I'll read this verse. Yat samanya visheshabhyam upalabhyeta sa brahma anyonya pashayat sarvam adyantadvad avastuyat. What is experienced as cause and effect is an illusion, since they are mutually dependent. Everything has a beginning and an end, and is therefore unreal. Sarartha-darsini. The effect of Brahman, the universe, is unreal according to Vivartavad, the theory of illusion. Similarly, Brahman as the cause should also be unreal. What is perceived as cause and effect is perceived through air, since they are mutually dependent, and thus impossible to determine. The meaning is this. Just as one mistakes a rope for a snake out of ignorance, the rope is the cause and the effect snake is false, so Brahman is mistaken to be the universe out of ignorance. How can Brahman be the cause when it is dependent on the effect, the universe, which does not exist. Okay, I'll read this verse also, and then we'll end. Vikara kya yamanopi pratyag atmanamantara na nirupyostyanur api syachchit sama atmavat. This universe and even a single atom within it have no definition without reference to the Supreme Soul. If that is so, then objects related to the Lord are also spiritual and non-different from the Lord. Sarartha-darsini. This universe, and even an atom in it, famous as being subject to change, cannot be defined without Paramatma. Everything is Paramatma. The universe is imposed on Paramatma. The illusion of water in a mirage will not take place at all without light. It is all light. The illusion of water is imposed on light. However, some famous objects are perceived as real and spiritual, such as bhakti and things produced by bhakti are within bhakti, and the abodes of the Lord. Lakshanam bhakti yogyasya nirgunasya hyudahritam ahaitukya vyavahita ya bhakti purushottame. It is said that the quality of bhakti beyond the gunas is that bhakti which is devoid of results other than bhakti and which is unobstructed by other processes. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3:29-12. The Lord says, Mat sevayam tu nirguna. Faith in my devotional service is purely transcendental. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11:25-27. He has also said, Mam nitekam tu nirgunam nirguno mar apashraya, and man nishtam nirgunam smritam. My abode is beyond the gunas. The devotee is beyond the gunas. Knowledge of the Lord is beyond the gunas. That's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11:25-27. And also verses 26, 24, and 25. All objects related to bhakti are beyond the gunas. The Gopala Tapani Upanishad says, Tasya madhya shakshad brahma gopala purihi. Among them, the abode of Gopala is Brahman. Satchidanandaika rase bhakti yoge tishtati. The Lord resides in bhakti, filled with eternity, knowledge, and bliss. The planet of the Lord and Bhakti Yoga are beyond the gunas. The planet of the Lord and Bhakti Yoga are beyond the gunas and are thus the highest truth. That is explained in this verse. If it is defined as being beyond the gunas, it is chit sama, the same as chit. Paramatma is beyond the gunas. Since all these objects are the expansions of Paramatma, they are the one Paramatma. Alright, so we'll end here. Tomorrow we'll finish up this chapter. There is no material duality in the absolute truth. If a person thinks that there is duality, he is ignorant, like one seeing the space in two pots as two different kinds of space, or the fire in two lamps as two different kinds of fire, or the pran in two bodies as two different kinds of pran, when actually there is only one space, one fire, and one pran. Right, so I'll read from that point on tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Jai Srila Gurudev ki jai. Srila Param Gurudev ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Saparshad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan ki jai. Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Shri Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow to finish up this chapter and begin the next chapter. Dandavat pranams, Ganga Mataji. Alright, everybody, Haribol.